you're passionate about transforming retail operations and improving performance, plus you're accountable for key change projects and programs in your company, then you're in the right place. Welcome to the Retail Transformation Show with me, Oliver Banks. Welcome to the Retail Transformation Show. I'm your host, Oliver Banks, and this week we're diving into meetings. Now, meetings take up enormous amounts of time, huge blocks of time. So it's absolutely essential that you make the most of them. Every single minute counts. But before we get into it, if you've not subscribed to the Retail Transformation Show, make sure you hit that button now wherever you get your podcasts. And I'd also like to ask you, who else do you know that is into retail transformation? Who else do you know that would get a lot of value by listening to this podcast and joining us in our weekly Retail Transformation Show? Please send them the link, tell them about the Retail Transformation Show, and I'm sure they'll thank you for it. Now, into our main topic, meetings. Like them or loathe them, they're here to stay, and they do take up time, but ultimately, they are the forum to make great decisions. In our modern technology-enabled world, meetings now, of course, can be face-to-face, but also an increasing volume are via conference calls, via Skype or other video conference solutions as well. So it's easier to spend time in meetings, but at the same time, you've got to drive the decisions. You've got to drive actions. And that's what we're jumping into today. Driving real progress and actions from your meetings. Now, I'm not sure about you, but I know I've been to a number of meetings that aren't planned out effectively. Agendas sometimes do exist, sometimes don't exist. But either way, they drift. Decisions are postponed or not even made at all. There are situations where information is not available ahead of the meeting, and then decision makers are trying to make a big business call, a big business decision, kind of on the fly, without really considering all aspects of it. And they're expensive too, right? The fact of the matter is that if you're in a meeting for an hour with a number of other colleagues, by the time you take all of your hourly salaries and you build that together, the cost of that meeting mounts up quite quickly. And the challenge is, of course, to add more value than you're taking. You know, your meetings should at least be profitable, right? But why aren't they? Why are meetings so difficult? Why do people, not get them right? The concept of having an agenda is not a difficult concept. Everybody, or generally everybody, will know that. They'll understand that, but it still doesn't happen. So why is that? Well, for me, I think the root cause is that it's the extra work up front. No one's specifically asking for agendas or objectives or all the other good meeting management elements. No one's asking for it, so it doesn't get done. There's no planning or thinking ahead, and ultimately there's a bit too much of a winging it attitude. Do you know what I mean? But my question to you is, what would your customers and your shareholders, your corporate shareholders, what would they expect of you? Would they expect you to wing it? Or would they want you to really be making the best bang for buck from that half an hour, 2 hours, however long that meeting is? So today I have a 4-step process for you to work through. And this could be used if you're hosting or if you're presenting your transformational program or project. Now, this could be a governance meeting, it could be a board meeting, it could be a project team meeting, it could be a workshop. A huge number of different styles and types of meeting will work with this 4-step process that I'm about to give you. So let's get into it. Step 1, and this is a biggie. Step 1, what is the aim or the objective for your meeting? This is your outcome. Your outcome is really important because if you don't know where you're going, how are you ever going to get there? So start with the end in mind. Start with your goal, your ideal result. By starting here, you immediately highlight the need to actually have a meeting. And if you can't perfectly crystallize what the aim or the objective or the outcome is, really question whether you need that meeting at all. You also need to make sure that people understand what the meeting objective is. This allows for more direct discussion. It allows for people to get their heads in the right space beforehand. And ultimately, it's going to waste less time and drive more success. Just to give you a quick hint as to how to form your objective, obviously each meeting will have a custom objective that you're going to have to work out by yourself. But start your objective with the word to, okay? To and then a verb. And it should be an active, decisive, progressive verb. So, to decide, to agree, something like that. What you don't want is a kind of more relaxed verb. To discuss. Well, it's nice to have a little chit-chat and discuss it, but actually, what is the outcome? What do you need to happen at the end? On to step 2. So now that you know your outcome, you need to decide what your ideal output is. Now, this is slightly different, whereas your outcome is the overall goal. Your output is what are you expecting to come out of the meeting? Now, this is a tangible list, I would suggest. So a list of next steps, particular next steps, so Dave is going to approve the finances by this date, something like that. Visualize what you would be happy with at the end of the meeting. Visualize what you would deem a success and capture that. Aim for a really tangible list here. And in fact, let me tell you, this was one of my downfalls, one of my challenge areas earlier in my career. Now, I wouldn't really think or plan out how I'd want the meeting to end. I wouldn't think about how to position the room to get that, and that's what we're going to come into in a minute. So I had an outcome, an ideal outcome, an objective, but I didn't really understand what I would need to have to meet that objective. And that meant that my meetings that I ran were not as conclusive as I really wanted them to be. I didn't drive the results or the pace or the speed or the decisions that I needed. So once you have your outcome, decide what the tangible output is. Step 3 is defining your approach. So I've got an outcome, I've got my output, and using my output, what's the approach I need to have to get there? What are the discussion topics that I need to have to be able to hit every single one of those tangible items in the list that you've created in step 2? In fact, the more tangible you can make that list in step 2, the more targeted and specific you can design the approach to be. This approach, of course, is going to determine your agenda or your presentation flow. So it will take you through the different steps and stages that you need to take people through. Once you've got your approach and you've built that sort of almost outline agenda, run through it from the beginning. Imagine you were in the shoes of one of your attendees, one of your decision makers. Run through the flow. How would I feel going through the different topics? And ultimately, would it lead to the output? And would you achieve the outcome? That's what you've got to keep coming back to. So now you're in a really good place. You understand the approach you'll take in the meeting or in your slot, your determined slot for your presentation. The final stage, stage 4, is about considering what information people would need to be able to have the discussions you've outlined in your approach. What would give them the intel to be able to make a conclusion from what you are presenting, from what you are sharing, from what you are discussing? Is that going to enable them? Of course, you know where I'm going with this, right? Is that going to enable them to agree those next steps that you've defined in step 2? With this information, also consider whether it is new information or if it's unexpected information. If it is, you probably need to allow a bit more time for people to consider it, to let it soak in. So you need to have a pre-read in this instance. So if you are going to come up with the storyline that people are not expecting, you need to tell them, you need to give them a bit of a briefing so that you can take people on that journey with you. It will set the scene for the meeting. Now, of course, if people are expecting or do already know that information, it makes it more feasible to just bring it along to the meeting. You don't need to tell someone things they already know, right? You don't need to labour those points. You also need to consider how to best pre-engage key meeting attendees, key decision makers. Who are you going to meet before? How long do you need to give that? What are the messages you want to float? Are you wanting to prepare someone? Are you wanting their opinion? What's the ask you want to make to those pre-engaged attendees? And it's really important to pre-engage. It will allow you to read the room before you get there, but it will also build a bit of support, build a bit of confidence that your transformational message is going to get approved and you are going to deliver those outcomes. By looking at the information in this way, you are determining the intel that you need to present, that you need to prepare, that you need to pitch to guarantee success in your meetings. By this stage, you've also formed what pre-read you're going to need, what presentation material you're going to need, and who you need to pre-engage before the meeting kicks off. And here's a bonus tip for you. You need to consider what else is going on that you need to be aware of, that you need to be considerate of before you walk into that meeting. Now, I'm sure you know this already, but you do need to keep it in mind. Consider what other important or urgent situations are currently on their plate or in people's minds at present. What other factors could affect people's points of view? What's filling up their headspace or their emotional capacity as well? So let's wrap up these 4 steps to deliver successful, effective meetings to drive your transformation home. Now, you could argue that there's been nothing groundbreaking, nothing revolutionary in today's content, and do you know what? You'd be right. But also, no one does this. No one does it. It is simple. So what I've prepared for you today is not so much the groundbreaking concept, but a simple 4-step plan. Now, those 4 steps. Number 1, build the outcome. What are the aims or the objectives of having your meeting, of making your presentation? Number 2, define the output. What do you need to happen by the end? What is your tangible list that you walk out of that successful meeting or presentation with? Number 3, outline the approach. What discussion flow do you need to have to be able to deliver that output? Number 4, intel. What would people need to know to be able to effectively have those discussions? And to be honest, here's a funny one. So I thought, what is this as a model? Does it create a nice little acronym where it goes, OOI? Which gave me a chuckle. So enjoy that. OOI, outcome, output, approach, and intel. And of course, remember, keep perspective. That bonus tip, keep perspective so that you can pitch effectively and you can help read the room. Remember, please subscribe to the Retail Transformation Show if you've not already done so. And if you have, who do you know? Who do you know right now that could really value from this content? Maybe it's someone that needs a bit of help to get the most out of their meetings or their presentations. Or perhaps they've got a big meeting coming up and they need to be super prepared for it. Please do share this. You can give them the link. It's ob&co.uk/007. ob&co.uk/007. 007. Well, that wraps us up for today. So thank you for listening all the way to the end. And I look forward to joining you next week. Have a great one.